Today we are going to install the new Turn Offroad Ford Bronco FB1 AC2 ACC Relocation bracket. This bracket fits the 2021 and newer Ford Bronco 2 and 4 door models. Installation time is around 60 to 90 minutes. Can be installed by yourself with a difficulty level of beginner. You will need this list of tools to get the job done properly. So, gather all these tools, and let's start this installation. Before we start this installation, you first need to remove the front bumper, headlights, and grille, which are not covered in this video. Refer to the FB1 M1 front bumper install video on removal and installation of the front bumper. Then, refer to the front grille and headlight removal and reassembly video, both on our YouTube page or the Turn Offroad website, before proceeding. With the bumper and grille work removed, begin by unplugging the upper radiator shutter assembly. Then, begin to remove the shutter assembly by removing the 8-10 mm bolts that hold it in place. Now, remove the wire harness clip on the driver's side of the shutter assembly, and the assembly will pull straight out. Then, set the assembly aside for now. Next, pull the lower shutter assembly shroud off the assembly by simply unsnapping the shroud and set it aside. Then, unplug the lower shutter assembly, as shown, and remove the assembly by removing the 4-10 mm bolts, and set the assembly aside. Next, on the lower shutter assembly, unclip the ACC cover, and set it aside. Then, using a T30 Torx bit, remove the 3 screws that hold the ACC to the assembly. Now, unplug the ACC, and set the whole shutter assembly aside. Next, using a screwdriver or body clip tool, pry up on the 3 mounting posts, and remove the ACC from the factory bracket. Then, set the bracket aside. Now, grab the relocation bracket and hardware. Focusing on the ACC holding plate, install the supplied 3-4 mm Allen button head bolts, shown here. The lower bolt can be seen clearly in the next image. This attaches the upper and lower bracket pieces together as one adjustable piece. Then, grab the ACC module itself and install it facing outward as shown. There are 3 supplied 4 mm Allen bolts and 10 mm backing nuts that hold it to the backing plate. Don't forget the 3 plastic spacers that go between the plate and the module, as shown here in this diagram. This is what the bracket and ACC module look like mounted from the back side. You can see the lower bracket slide bolt now. This is how you adjust the angle of the module. You can also see how the module and mounting hardware bolt up. The ACC module and relocation bracket now get set in place on the vehicle. Next, set the bracket in place, as shown, and install 2 of the 10mm bolts to hold it in place and tighten them snugly. Now, grab the factory shutter assembly and hold it up in place, as shown here. As you can see, it should line up like shown, and some minor cutting of the shutter assembly needs to be done. Next, as you see here in this photo, we have drawn some crude lines to show you where to cut for the ACC mount and module. Here is a more detailed image of what and where we recommend cutting to retain some rigidity in the plastic. As you hold up the assembly in place, you can see for yourself just how much needs to be cut to clear the bracket, and so nothing blocks the ACC module itself. We have the part of the plastic seal pulled away here, but you can leave it clipped in and just cut what's shown. Now, setting the shutter assembly face down, begin to remove the driver's side top 2 shutter blades using a flathead screwdriver or body clip tool. They just snap into place and connect with a sync clip on the outside. Once these are removed, it's time to cut. Next, going back to the lower shutter assembly, grab the wire harness and cut the factory tape that holds the harness folded on itself. Remove it and stretch the excess wire all the way out so it can reach the new mounting location. Next, flip the assembly back over so it's now face up, and get your cutting tool ready. We used a small cutoff wheel we had handy and started by cutting out the 2 plastic braces as shown. We would recommend using a file to clean up the edges, not only for aesthetics, but to eliminate sharp edges. Next, we drew our lines with a Sharpie and began to cut the plastic. First the inside top, then across the front, then the other side top. Lastly, the front part of the shutter assembly and rubber seal. Then clean it up, and you're ready for install. Note, cutting the plastic can be as simple or elaborate as you want to make it. It all depends on your skill level and DIY skills. We showed you a simple, quick and clean way to make it functional, and still look good. Now, remove the 2 10mm bolts, and holding the ACC bracket mount in place. Slide the shutter assembly over the ACC bracket, like shown, and reinstall the 2 10mm bolts, and tighten down. At this point, make sure the ACC module has been plugged into the newly extended wire, and make sure enough wire has been pulled through to reach everything easily. As you can see, the shutter assembly fits nicely in place, and remains sturdy and functional, as well as clears the bracket, and leaves the module unobstructed for proper factory use. Next, reinstall all 8 10mm shutter assembly bolts and tighten down. Now, reinstall the lower shutter assembly, using the 4 factory 10mm bolts, and tighten down. As you can see by this video, we have updated where and how the ACC mounts behind the grille. Other than the update, all other steps for this installation remain the same. Install everything in reverse order as you took it off, and you will be back on the road quickly. Once that is done, plug in the upper shutter assembly, and tuck the harness behind the bumper framework. This completes the ACC relocation for the installation of a turn or aftermarket bumper. Refer back to the FB1 M1 front bumper install video and the front grille and headlight removal and reassembly video for reinstallation of the front end bodywork to fully complete this install. Congratulations, that completes your Turn Offroad ACC relocation bracket installation. Turn Offroad's ACC relocation bracket allows the adaptive cruise control system to function as designed when the OEM location will be blocked by an aftermarket bumper. R&D was focused on maintaining OEM function and getting the ACC sensor as high as possible to allow for bull bars and winches to be mounted without issue. The bracket allows for adjustment of the sensor so that the unit can be used and properly calibrated with any amount of lift. Until your next Turn product install, be safe out there. If you have any questions during your product installation, don't hesitate to contact us via phone or email. We are here to help.